5 minutes. I haven't spoke that long in a long time, but anyway, here we go. I come on this virtual format, and I got really used to it in during the pandemic, and I think it's so wonderful that this virtual format takes us all over the world. I have made friends in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Italy, Thailand, and all across the United States. It's so wonderful to have family all over the world. So, what AA reminds me of, and I always say this, AA reminds me just like the mafia, because wherever you go throughout the United States and the world, you will have family. And however, just like the mafia, though, if you decide to leave the family and do it on your own, you just might die. So I suggest we stay within the circle of Alcoholics Anonymous and let this family protect you from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing that it says in the vision for you, the most satisfying years of our existence still lies ahead. Thus, we find this fellowship. And when that happens, I didn't know, our whole life will take on a whole new meaning at last, one that we never even knew existed. You see, for many, many years, I was an outcast of society. I was the black sheep of my family. And then I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I found my flock in every single one of you. You are my flock. You know, you heard that cliche many times, but for the grace of God. And it's so true. If it wasn't for God's grace, I wouldn't be here today. So I protect it with everything that I've got. I really believe that it's through God's grace all of us are here today. You know, the way I drank, the way I used all of alcohol cousins, I really should be dead, incarcerated, or institutionalized. You see, the way I drank, I used to do things that was not morally right against society standards. I was doing off the wall things. And it was devastating, not only to my family, but to the people I love. There was only two ways to communicate by the time I got sober. It was either rage or silence. If you asked me what's going on, I didn't know how to tell you, so I raged out on you to keep you away, or I just shut you down. You know, I was facing 20 years to go into prison. I overdosed on one of alcohol's friends, which was heroin. And when I got sober on July 28, 1986, my family and friends all thought I went to a mental institution because I didn't know how to communicate. But today, as a result of the 12 steps in Alcoholics Anonymous, I have desire to live usefully under God's care. And I try to walk righteously every single day and protect his grace with everything that I got. So if your drinking caused you to be superior to other people, or caused you to feel less than other people, or made you do off the wall things that was not totally right against society standards, then I am in the right place. You are my flock. You know, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells me how to disclose my story in a general way, what it was like, what happened, and how it's like today. Basically, I tell everybody it's very simple. I used to drink so I could be happy. But what happened? I became unhappy. I used to drink so I could have joy in my life. And what happened? I became miserable. I used to drink so I could be outgoing. And what happened? I became self-centered. I used to drink so I could gain a lot of friends. And what happened? I only made enemies. I used to drink so I could have a lot of strength. And what happened? I only became weak. Oh, guys, you know this? I used to drink to increase my masculinity. And what happened? It zapped my potency. You guys know how that one goes. I used to drink so I could have a lot of confidence. And what happened? I became uncertain. I used to drink so I could soften my sorrows. Poor me. And what happened? I only wallowed in self-pity. I used to drink to erase my problems. And what happened? I only saw them multiply. I used to drink so I could stimulate my thoughts. And what happened? I only blocked out. But I used to drink so I could be somebody. And what happened? I ended up a nobody. And how it is today? Because of people like you, the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can honestly sit in front of you today and tell you I am happy, joyous, and free. And this freedom is not because I'm not incarcerated. This freedom is being free from the bondage of self that I was totally consumed in. This is where I was a prisoner. The bondage was in my mind. I was a prisoner of my own pride, anger, lust, envy, greed, gluttony, and sloth. Then it was compounded by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. Then I found out through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, each and every one of us hold the key to open up that cell anytime we want, and we can be free. That's the magical thing about this program. I have learned this program that I'm responsible to become the person I truly want to be. Through the 12 steps, I have learned that I have a right to be angry today, because that's a God's given trait. I have learned in this program that either I control my attitude or it will definitely control me. I have learned in this program that no matter what economic background I came from, no matter who influenced me to become the person that I am, I'm still responsible to become the person that God intended me to be. Oh, yes, it says the most satisfying years of our existence still lies ahead. Thus, we find this fellowship. And again, when that happens, our life will take on in the directions that we could never, ever imagine. You know, when I looked at the 12 steps, I thought it was about becoming something or somebody. Little did I know that I started doing the step. It was all about unbecoming everything that I thought I was so I could become what God intended me to be. That's the magical thing about the 12 steps. It's about self-serving, to really take a look at myself. And then it's about confession to a sponsor, to another human being of like mind, to tell them all the natures of our wrongs. And then I get to do the restitutions, to make the wrong right in life to all the people that I've hurt and I have harmed. And once I learned the magical thing about the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I learned how to give it away and to help another alcoholic achieve the same freedom that we have as a result of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is such a wonderful program. You know, I can't tell you what this program has done for me. You know, I feel that sobriety is more than just staying sober and obeying old man's law. There's no telling how many lives has been touched by the essence of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps. I realize today that most of the problems that I face can be healed with the 12 steps. The problems that I see are usually symptoms, and the 12 steps help to get to the underlying cause of those symptoms. The nice part about the 12 steps is that it gets rid of a lot of problems I faced throughout the day. But here's the deal. It gets rid of a lot of problems I would have had I not applied the 12 steps in my life. To me, the miracle boils down to the 12 basic principles which anybody can apply to their lives. You know, the prescription for alcoholism is very simple. You know, last night we had a big book study, and I said everything, all disease has a prescription. And alcoholism was deemed a disease by the American Medical Association in 1956. So if you have a heart disease, the doctor will probably prescribe you go on an exercise program, you watch what you eat, you watch what you intake, you lose weight to get your heart going. If you're suffering from diabetes, maybe they tell you drop your sugar level and watch what you eat. You know, if we don't follow the prescriptions, we probably get a heart attack and go into diabetic coma. With our disease, it's real simple. The disease at the beginning, the prescription is go to meetings, go to meetings, go to meetings. That's it. Get yourself a sponsor. Apply the steps in your life. You see, what happens when we stop that prescription? We go back into self-obsession. And then we think we got it. I don't need you folks anymore. I can handle this. Gee, I got 100 days sober. I know how to do this. No, 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 no. We go back into self-obsession where we lived when we were drinking, and we're right back to the same thing. Same thing. See, when we get sober, we need to unlearn all the things we have learned up to this point, because all the things we have learned has nothing to do with living a life of being happy, joyous, and free. So we unlearn all the old things because our old thinking will never give us new solutions to handle our problem. That's why we come into this program. We follow the practitioners who walked before us, who have changed their lives, who have set the example, and we watch and we see how they did it. And it's like monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. We just do what they did. And without even knowing, you're going to see that your life will start to turn, make a turn for the better. You know, I grew up and raised right in the heart of Kalidi. And I had loving parents, you know, who was very loving. And I have two brothers, and I always joke with my brothers. I have a good relationship with them today. I always tell them when I was growing up, they really messed it up for me, man. Because you see, my brothers were the type that went to school. They went to a prestigious private school. They studied. One was an all-star with the state. They went off to college. And somehow, I don't know, that just wasn't me. Me coming along, that wasn't me. I couldn't see myself studying. I wanted to have fun from a very young age. You know, I think my mom thought she brought home the wrong kid from the hospital because I was totally opposite from my brothers. Now, here I am coming along, and I'm getting into a lot of trouble at a young, early age. I just love having fun because I felt different from my brothers. I started to compare myself to my brothers, why I wasn't like them. So guess what? In my head, I made the conclusion that I was stupid and not like them. They never did tell me I was stupid. Parents never did tell me I was stupid. I labeled myself that because I felt I was different. You know, I knew at an early age the difference between right and wrong. I choose wrong because right was too hard. It was just that simple. You know, again, nobody called me stupid. I labeled it myself. You know, I started to believe in the truth. It was my truth. And when you start to believe in the truth as you perceive the truth to be, nothing can change it. It's hard to break that out of your mind. You know, so at an early age already, at 13 years old, when I started to hang around these older kids, I started to drink. And at the 7th grade, I got suspended from school because I got caught drinking. And that time we used to sniff glue. I used to drink and sniff glue, and I got caught behind a band building, and I got suspended in early age. My parents couldn't figure out why I was so different. I couldn't figure it out why I was so different. You know, I started to live my life exactly what I thought other people thought of me. You see, all the kids I was hanging around with, if they thought of me as somebody being fun-loving and loved to drink and drug, guess what? That's what I did. And this is how I lived my life. I am not who you think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am and I become what I think you think I am. That's a hard place to live. I am not who you think I am. Then who am I? I am not what you think I am. Then what am I? But I am and I become what I think the people around me thought of me. That's a hard place to live. That's a really hard place to live. You know, living up to everyone's expectations, what I thought they thought of me, wasn't an easy thing to do. It cost me a lot of years of therapy to really find out who I was when I first got sober. You know, I loved alcohol. Alcohol made me whole. It made my inside match my outside. It made me feel one. I wasn't insecure when I was drinking. I wasn't stupid. I mean, I could dance with girls. I could talk with them. It was totally different when I had alcohol in my body. That was such a magic elixir that made everything work for me. You know, my drinking continued all the way to high school. Now, this is where I know that maybe I probably wasn't stupid because my parents wanted me to go to a private school too. My brothers went to Iolani. So my parents set it up where I had to take the entrance exam for 3 schools in the state Ilani, Punahou, and St. Louis. Well, Ilani, I passed. And when I went for the interview, because of my records at Kalakaua Intermediate, they wanted me to repeat the 8th grade again. That's when I said, no, 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 no. Back then, you don't want to repeat the 8th grade. That was shame. So I told my parents, no. You know what? I got accepted to Punahou. But of course, growing up in Kalihi, I wasn't speaking perfect English. I was so ashamed. And I told my mom, no, 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 I'm not going to Punahou. I'm not going with those howly kids. I cannot speak good English. That's real crazy, yeah. I got accepted to St. Louis, and little did I know I was scored really high in the St. Louis entrance exam. Maybe because St. Louis was easier. I don't know. But I got accepted to St. Louis, so I went to St. Louis. And it doesn't matter. You know the saying, wherever you go, there you are. Well, I went and I hung around the older kids and I sought out the people just like me. And guess what? I started to cut out from school. I started to get loaded in drink. And consequently, I got kicked out from that school. And I went to another public school. I got kicked out from that public school. Not once did I think that I had a problem. See, everybody else around me didn't understand me. I spent some time in the detention home on weekends because I was known as an incorrigible teenager. But yet, deep down inside, I'm thinking, I'm a nice guy. How can they label that on me? I really believed I was a nice guy. And I don't know why these people doing this to me. And it didn't stop. All the way through high school, nothing changed. Nothing changed. And then how I got my high school diploma is a whole nother story that will never happen again in the records of high school. I talked to the superintendent and he said, Mark, nobody will ever get a diploma like how you got it. Anyway, I got my diploma, and because I got my diploma, I got to go into the military. And somehow when I went into the military, I was home. You know why? The military gave me structure. It was easy for me. I loved it. They told me when to sleep, when to wake up, what school I'm going, what I'm going to eat. All I had to do was follow directions, and it was easy. I moved up the ranks real fast in the military. I think in less than a year and a half, I became a sergeant, and I became the soldier of the month. I mean, it was easy. Then I got recruited to go to OCS, Officer Training School, but then they want to send me to Georgia, to this junior college. They wanted me to go to college. And somehow, I don't know, that going to Georgia didn't sit well with me, so I decided to take an early discharge to go to school. I got an early discharge to go to college. Nothing happened. When I got out, it all started all over again. No structure to my life. And Mark was off and running, doing what he wanted to do anytime he wanted to do it. So at that time, I was getting the GI Bill. I registered for college. Of course, I take course. I go to school a little while thinking I'm going to change. I drop out. I collect the GI Bill. Next semester, same thing. I registered. I get the GI Bill. I tell you, I was lost. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So what happened was, I was lucky that I landed a job with this terrific airlines. But that time, the airlines was booming. You could take this thing called WOP without pay. I could take off 1 or 2 months at a time, collect seniority, and they would give me off, and I would collect the seniority, which was real cool. So what happened was, I had to prove to my parents or somebody that I could be somebody. So I got involved in this illegal activities. And I must say, in no time, I became really good in this illegal activities. And I started to acquire a lot of things most people try to achieve in their lifetime. I'm not saying this to brag, okay? I'm just telling you how I lost everything due to alcohol and drugs. I had custom built home. I had townhouses I was renting out. I had property on the Big Island. I had property in Vegas. I had cars. I had jewelry. I mean, I had horses, believe it or not. I had horses. And now I'm on the top of the mountain in my huge home. And I'm looking down, and in my head, I'm thinking, now, mom and dad, who's the stupid son that you have? Who's the most successful? Who got all these material things? You see, I put a price tag on all the material things that I got in life because I was so bankrupt on the inside. So I had to put the price tag on everything I touched on the outside. Look how much my houses cost. Look how much my car costs. Look how much my clothes cost. Everything had a price tag, but no price tag on Mark. I was zero, you know. And then what happened? Honolulu Police Department and I didn't get along. Then I was facing 20 years. Then I started to lose everything. I became a bar fly. I started to live at the bar, and I don't know where my life was going. My life was spiraling downhill. I felt real sorry for myself. And this is where, I'm also check out from this world. I'm nobody. Well, this attempted suicide cost me 3 years of therapy. And all I found out about suicide is this. Suicide is nothing but a permanent solution to a very temporary problem. It's amazing what happens when we slowly start to realize, when we slowly start to put some work in ourselves, that we don't want to hurt us anymore. You know, I was full of ambition. There was a lot of things I wanted to accomplish in my life. Yet, it was like I was stuck in quicksand. The alcohol and drug killed my capability to do so. And I had no idea which way to turn. You know, I had no structure. Again, I did anything what I wanted to do, and everything turned out wrong. You know, that was the rise and fall of my life. And you know, when it says in the big book, when you read Bill's story, Bill talks about the drive for success was on. And that was in my head. I would try to be successful at no cost to prove to people I was somebody. But yet inside, I was an empty shell. You know, we Alcoholics Anonymous are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. No real alcoholic ever regains control. But we tried this interval drinking at times, and the interval became less and less. And we're inevitably followed by this feeling of pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. And I was at the bottom. Then in July 28, 1986, because of this loving company who knew all my activities, they told me, Mark, something is wrong with you. They knew of my business. They knew all these things. And I don't know what. They had this employee assistance program. I walked into the office one day and I just said, I don't know how to communicate. You know, today, little did I know that EFP coordinator was this guy, John Mason's sponsee. John Mason and I are good friends today. And he started to tell me what it was like, what happened, how it is today. I stood up and I was going to walk out. I said, I thought this was a confidential program. How come you know everything about me? He grabbed me. He said, Mark, sit down. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. For the first time in my life, because of another alcoholic addict, I felt the words that he was saying. I could relate. I felt the remorse, the guilt, the anger, everything that he was talking about, I felt in my heart. And I sat there and I couldn't stop crying. Finally, I said, somebody finally understood me. I had no idea how he knew, but I could relate with him. And he asked me one question. He said, Mark, do you want to change your life? I said, yes, you can. And he told me you can change and you don't ever have to drink and use to solve another problem again, ever in your life. I didn't know what he meant by that. But all I know, I told him I wanted to change. Next thing I know, I'm on an airplane going to Tucson, Arizona, to this treatment facility. You see, in Hawaii, you had Castle, you had Hinamoka, you had Kaiser. But because of my illegal activities, they didn't want me in this state. So they sent me out to Arizona. And I had no idea what was treatment, you know. So I'm on, you know how funny it is the night before you're going to blast everything. You're going to party real good. I go on the plane, I pass out in San Francisco. I'm going to change airplanes to go to Tucson, Arizona. I'm on the airplane. Nobody's sitting next to me. And then this elderly, holy lady come in the airplane and she's telling everybody hi. She's telling the flight attendants hi. And I'm sitting, there's nobody sitting next to me. And I'm thinking, oh, lady, please go in the back. Then so don't sit next to me. Well, as luck will have it, she comes sit down right next to me. I grabbed the pillow, I put it next to the window. I don't want to talk to her because she was just talking to everybody. I didn't want that. I don't know, half an hour later or so, I wake up, I open up my eyes, and this lady is just looking at me. And see, I know it was going to happen. My name, why I'm going to Arizona, and it did come up. She told me, oh, why are you going to Arizona? Whatever. And I said, hey, and I don't know what I blurted out. All I said, hey, you know what, lady? I'm going to this drug alcohol rehab. I'm going to try to change my life. She stood up, first class, and said, hi, congratulations. My name is Sandy Fleming. I'm a recovering addict alcoholic too. I'm looking at her. Shut up, lady. Sit down. People are looking at you. Again, two strangers within 48 hours, and I can relate. Two complete strangers. She started to tell me about life. She started to tell me how she was the wife of a 747 captain who really screwed up his life. She talked about ironing his clothes and only getting it all burned. I could relate with her. She talked about the remorse, the guilt, the same thing. And I was looking at this lady. I said, wow, amazing. I can relate with this stranger. Then she told me this thing. She said, Mark, she told me all about when I get to treatment. She said, Mark, you go to this treatment center, you learn everything that can help you change and you leave everything back. And she said, Mark, I'm going to tell you one thing. Our mind is like a parachute, useless unless it's open. I'm looking at her and I was just shocked with what she said. My mind is like a parachute, useless unless it's open. And she said, yes, Mark, go there with an open mind. Don't close out on the things that we're going to tell you to do to change your life. You've been doing it your way all your life, and it's gotten you up to this point. Nothing worked. So she just told me, go ahead, try to follow people who have done this, who is just like you, who changed their lives, and you can do it too. So she said, if I can do it, a drunk like me, you can do it too. You know what? By the time I went to this treatment center, I was ready. I was ready to go in there to find out what is this thing that these people are talking about. I was completely hopeless and deflated at death. You know, I went to it there. I went to a detox spirit. I took a bunch of psychological tests, and I was diagnosed as a compulsive, chemically dependent person, like most of us. I'll take anything up my nose, in my veins, down my throat to change the way I think, change the way I feel, change the way I act. I needed the stimulants to function. But slowly, I started to listen to what they say. Slowly, I started to change the way I think. I started to look at all the people in treatment. And I was thinking, these people are just like me. They want to get their life straight. It's amazing. The fog slowly started to lift from my head. And one day I'm sitting out, and this is in Arizona. So, you know, you got a lot of cactus and whatever. I remember walking out one day and I looked up in the sky and for the first time in my life, I talked to this God that I had no understanding who he was. Because I used God like Santa Claus all my life. Yeah. If I'm in cell block, oh God, yeah, oh God, please, if you get me out of this, and I promise I won't do it again. Everything. I want presents from him. Yeah, I use him like a spare tire. I'm running along, and all of a sudden I get a flat. I pull him out of my trunk, and I think I'm going on my merry way. You know, then there was a scripture in John 8:32 that says, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." I remember that day I surrendered to the inevitable. I looked at my life, and I knew I was a better person than I had become that day. That's when I think I surrendered and when my life began. And I started to put my ego and leave it in the desert. And I started to listen to the people that walked before me. Because all this time, my ego was bigger than me. I thought because I had all this, I thought because I have a successful gambling business, I was the man. But no, I had to put that all aside because my life was zero. Yeah. It was like me sitting in a one-man canoe all my life with one oar, and I'm paddling as hard as I can, but I'm paddling on one side. And my canoe is going in a vicious circle all my life. Then I came into the rooms of AA, and guess what? You folks gave me the second paddle. And now, with a paddle in each arm, guess what? I could paddle, and now my canoe could go in a straight line. And because of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, because of finding the power greater than myself, today I can let go of the paddles. And that's a wonderful feeling when you can trust and have faith that you're not in control. You have faith that things will turn out all right, even if it's not the way you want it to go, that it'll going to be okay. Oh, yes, the most satisfying years of our existence still lies ahead. Thus, we find this fellowship. And like I said, when that happens, our life will take on a whole new meaning at last. It's such a wonderful thing that this program. So I came back here and I was scared because I didn't know anybody that was sober in AA. When I went to treatment, I didn't know what was AA. Yeah. They brought people into the treatment. We never did go out. They brought people into treatment. And I started to listen to their stories. And they were just like me. And I was listening to them. And I had nothing in common with them. They looked different than me. They were older than me. But yet the feelings and the things that we did was the same. So when I came back, I had this thing. I had to go 90 meetings in 90 days, get a sponsor, get a home group, work the steps. I looked at this program and I said, what if I gave this program 2 years to work? 2 years, honestly. And you guys told me I could get my life back. So instead of doing this 90 meetings in 90 days, you know, when I look at this 2 years, Vegas couldn't give me that odds. 2 years to get my life back. I really thought about it. So instead of going 90 meetings in 90 days at my sponsor, I did 750 meetings in 750 days over 2 years. Every single day, I went to a meeting once or twice a day. 2 years. And was it worth it? It was worth it. You know, my sponsor told me, all the things you want to do, go football game, all this kind of stuff. That he said, is that going to keep you sober? I had to laugh. And I agreed, okay, I'll just go meetings. I'll just concentrate. And it was worth it. You know, it was worth it. I got him. Today, he's still my sponsor, 38 years. He never did steer me wrong. He told me 3 things that I use today. He said, Mark, whenever you face with a problem, let's write it down. Write down your problem. Take a look at it. The second thing, I discussed it with him. He said, let's come to a sensible solution to your problem. A sensible solution. The third thing he said, now the ball that goes into your hands, your job is to carry out the solutions. You see, most of us, we look at our lives, we know what the solution is, but we sit on it. We sit on it, we sit on it, we sit on it, and then the problem envelop us again and we bury it. The trick is, I learned to act on it. Do it now, do it now, do it now, and carry out the solution. Sometimes I do it to a fault where I just start to go in, but then I realize, okay, then I got to detour, readjust, reevaluate, and do it all over again. But I don't stop moving. I don't stop moving. I got me a home group, got involved in a big book study, and I started to do the deal. It wasn't an easy thing. It wasn't comfortable. But like you folks said, it's going to be all worth it. The road of sobriety is not easy. It's uncomfortable. It balls breaking. It breaks down your pride, everything. It's all worth it. You know, one of the best things I realized in sobriety is that I have the ability to choose today. When I was out there drinking and using, I thought I had no choice. Alcohol and drugs was the only way to go, just to function. Today, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I consciously know that everything that I do is a matter of choice. And it wasn't easy. I practiced that over and over about these choices. You see, the blaming is over. I blame everything and everybody for my outcome. Today, no. The finger points at me and it's my choice. I tell everybody, you don't have to do nothing you want in your life. You have to live or you have to die. What you decide to do in between on that dash on your tombstone is how you're going to live your life with the choices that you make. So today I tell all the guys that you don't have to pay your rent. You grumble about paying your rent. Don't pay your rent. Get evicted. It's a choice. I have to pay the mortgage. You don't have to pay the mortgage. Go spend the money like me and let the bank take it back your house. It's a choice. I have to go to work. Now, you don't have to go to work. Get fired. It's a choice. There's nothing you have to do. My daughters would tell me, oh, Dad, I have to go to school tomorrow. No, you don't have to go to school. Get expelled, get kicked out, suffer the consequences. It's your choice. I did prison work for over 30 years, and even there I have fun. The prisoners tell me, Mark, you don't understand. I got to stay here. I got mandatory 5 or mandatory 10. I look at them and said, good, let's plan your escape tonight. How you decide to use the time while you're in here will make a big difference when the cells open. It's your choice. I choose to be happy or sad today, my choice. I choose to procrastinate or act, my choice. I choose to persevere in life or quit, my choice. Everything boils down to the choice. And once I started to develop the attitude of I love to, I want to, I choose to, life became an easier place to live because I am accountable. My choice. The blaming is over. What part of me that I need to change? Mine. What is my part in the whole situation? It's what really helps when you get on black belt, Al-Anon wife, because our thing is every situation, what is my part in all this whole thing? And really, we look at it, what is my part in all this whole thing? 9 out of 10, I'm usually wrong, but that's okay. But I gotta look at my part in this whole thing. Yeah. When I came in this program, again, I thought it was better than everybody else. Little did I know that we're all the same. I was like Eeyore when I first came in. Eeyore got the big black cloud over his head, and he's walking around. I think it's going to rain. I think it's going to rain. And boom, the cloud follow him, and it rains right on his head. Yeah, I used to compare myself and grumble to all the people that were sharing it. My sponsor told me, Mark, shut up. He put a gag order on me for 1 year. I couldn't talk. He said, just observe. He said, I don't want you to continue to just listen to the sermon. He said, watch it. Watch how people walk, but don't compare yourself and don't condemn nobody. So I started to look around, and I started to see people who was grumbling just like me. And guess what? It was just like me grumbling. Then I started to look at people like my sponsor and the people who hung around with. They were always into the solutions. They were always positive. So from an early time in this program, I started to separate people into 2 categories. I separated them into chickens and eagles. Of course, I was the chicken. Yeah. You take a look at all the chickens, they're real negative. They're always grumbling. They're always grumbling, always moaning about something. Then I look at my sponsor, like I said, they're always up, and they were like the eagles in this program. And I wanted to be like them. Positive people are always into the solutions. Yeah. So I started to look at them, and I started to compare the chickens and the eagles. Now, if you take a look in this program, and you're going to find chickens and eagles wherever you go. You're going to find them at church. You're going to find them at schools. You're going to find them at work. I don't care where you go. You're going to find them in this program. Every place you go, there are chickens and eagles. So I looked really, really hard. Now, if you take a look at the bunch of chickens in this program and you listen real closely, they're always in bunches, the chickens in a chicken coop, and they're always scurrying around, right? And you listen real closely, you're going to hear them peck. And this is what the things that the chickens might say. Ah, peck. What the hell I got to listen to that old man speak for? Peck. And my sponsor said I got to do 90 meetings in 90 days. Peck. I hate Zoom meetings. Peck. Why can't I get into a relationship? Shit. Peck. What do you mean I got to do the fourth step? Peck. I hate to go to that meeting. I don't like it. Peck. They peck, and they peck. I know my beak got broken many times in early sobriety. I had to understand the pecking is over. If I wanted to be an eagle, I had to realize the higher you fly, more of my ass is showing. And the chickens on the bottom are pointing the feathers up at us and saying, what the hell you think you now, Mr. AA? What make you think you can get your kids back? What make you think you can apply the steps in your life and change? You're not going to learn from the chickens. All I can say is just lift up your wings, soar, and crap on those chickens. You don't need the chickens in your life. I tell all my guys, you need to start hanging around with the eagles because all our life we hung around with chickens. And we started to point at the people who are different from us. It's not going to happen. That's not going to get you nowhere. Either you can be an example or you can be a chicken. And just because you want to be an example, it doesn't mean that you don't have any humility. No. It's living our life to the best of our ability. It is our choice. The picking is over. Yeah. When we get this program and we start to soar like an eagle, things happen. You know, the chickens come into this program, they think about sobriety, they wonder about sobriety, and they ask themselves, why? The eagles come into this program. They think about sobriety, wonder about sobriety, and they ask themselves, why not? Why not? What is our alternative to living a life of being happy, joyous, and free? Debt? Institutions? Incarceration? Is that what we want? No. So we need to soar and change. We need to change our playground. We need to dare to soar. We need to dare to be different. We need to dare to take control of our own lives. That's what works. And why not? This is a wonderful program. So after my beak got broken many times, my sponsor finally took me through the steps. And I found out that the change is already embodied in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's why we come into this program. All of us are in this program because of one reason. Our life didn't turn out the way we wanted to now, did it? No, we're in this program because of one reason. We want to change our lives. And this might be the last stop for most of us. Yeah, so you look at the 12 steps. Like I said, it's not about becoming anything or anybody. It's all about unbecoming everything that we think we were so we can become what God intended us to be. The change is already embodied in the 12 steps. All you got to do is step one. Think about it. All you got to do is have the willingness to change. Step two, believe that you can change. Step three, we make a decision to change. Step four, we take a look at our lives to change. And then we do the necessary steps, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And when we hit step 12, the magic happens. We have changed. The change is already embodied in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, talking about chickens, if you take an egg, you know, last night before our big book study, there was a bunch of chickens, a mother hen, and all these brand new baby chicks right outside that the mini mart. So I went in there, I told the guy, you guys ever feed the chickens? He said, yeah, I do. I said, what do they like to eat? The guy told me he loved to have Pringles. So I bought, you mind if I feed them? They're right outside on the grass. So I got Pringles. And I went to the bushes, I smashed it up, and I fed those chickens. It was so neat to watch them. And then I thought about it. If you take a fresh egg from that mother hen, that fresh egg, and you crack it from an outside force, life in that egg dies. However, that same egg, if you let it crack from an inside force, life in that egg begins. We come into this program, we need to bust out from the inside out. And that's how it changed. We need to have the steps embedded in us so we can grow from the inside out. Your willingness to change has to be greater than your desire to remain the same. That's how we do it in this program. We cannot stay the same. So you don't have to keep studying, read the book to understand the steps. However, you're going to have to do the steps to fully understand how it works. You cannot just read it and think you got it. You cannot just memorize it. I started to get over my addiction and stop drinking and using, not just by stop drinking and using, but by creating a whole new life, one that I never thought existed, a whole new way of living that you folks taught me, that brought me back to the person that I am today. Like I said, this program is God-given for every single human being on the face of this earth. You know, I just want to tell you that we have a gift from God, every single one of us on this format. It's a gift of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's a gift from God. If God wanted the religious sector to help the addict alcoholic, there are lots of clergy people and pastors out there who have probably have gone to help the addict alcoholic. If God wanted the scientific community to help the addict alcoholic, there's a lot of scientists, there's a lot of people in the laboratories that he had gone to help the addict alcoholic. If God wanted eloquent or learned men to help the addict alcoholic, there's a lot more people who are more educated than us, who are more eloquent than us in speaking, that he have gone to help the addict alcoholic. But who did God bestow this great gift upon to help the addict alcoholic? He went to each and every one of us, the lowly alcoholic, to help the next suffering addict alcoholic. Because we're the only ones that can stick out our hands and say, I know how you feel, sister. I know how you feel, brother. I've been there before. And we can relate. We stick our hands and we help them up. We're the only one who can relate with the suffering alcoholic. We have this special gift and we shouldn't take it lightly. So I protect this gift with everything that I got. You know, like the responsibility statement say, when anyone, anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA to always be there. And for that, I am responsible. I truly believe this, is every single one of us can help transform just one person to live a better life. I'm sure we can impact the nation. My name is Mark. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you. I don't know if that's enough time, but thank you so much for letting me share. Thank you, Hannah, for asking me to share. Thank you. May you all have a blessed day today. Thank you.